Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? In today's video, we'll be taking a look at 10 of some of the most underrated and overlooked horror and thriller films from 2010 to 2020. And thank you for joining me today. If you're new here, my name is DeRay, aka Rainbow Fright. Let's jump right into this list in no particular order. I did reviews for the first 2 films on the list, which I'll link in the video and in the description. First up is Would You Rather from 2012, starring Brittany Snow and Jeffrey Combs. It's directed by David Guy Levy and written by Stefan Schlachtenhofen. In this one, Brittany Snow's character, Iris, is taking care of her brother who has leukemia, but she can no longer afford his medical treatment. Jeffrey Combs' character, Shepard Lambrick, invites Iris to a dinner at his house, where he says if she wins a game, he will cover the cost of her brother's treatment and then some. Once the dinner party begins, 2 things become clear. Shepard preys on those in desperate need of money, and only one dinner guest is leaving his house alive. The game calls for increasingly more difficult rounds, where the dinner guests must choose between 2 equally horrible choices. In the first round, they must choose to electrocute themselves or the person to their right. Succeeding rounds include stabbings, whippings, and self-mutilation. If you like movies like Saw and Hostel, you'll probably dig this roller coaster ride. You can find it on Amazon Prime, YouTube, Apple TV, Plex, and Google Play. Next is The Woman, starring Pollyanna McIntosh, Sean Bridgers, Angela Bettis, and Lauren Ashley Carter. This is an adaptation of Jack Ketchum and Lucky McKee's novel of the same name. Lucky McKee also directed the film, 9 years after writing and directing May, another great movie that Angela Bettis is also in. In The Woman, Sean's character, Chris, finds a feral woman in the woods and decides to capture her and takes her to his home in order to civilize her. But his methods are barbaric. This movie highlights the evil that walks among us in a civilized society that is darker than that of any cannibal tribe living in the woods. I love the grittiness of this movie, and the acting from everyone is on point. You can watch this one on Amazon Prime, Shudder, the Roku channel, and Sling TV. The next movie on the list is Time Trap, written by Mark Dennis and directed by Mark and Ben Foster. This one stars Cassidy Clifford, Brianne Howie, Riley McClendon, Olivia Dragisevich, Andrew Wilson, and Max Wright. I absolutely love movies that play with the space-time continuum. In this story, an archaeology teacher goes missing after entering a cave where he saw someone who seemed to be frozen. His students then go looking for him and witness the same phenomenon and discover that they are in a cave like none other. You'll definitely get Goonies, Indiana Jones, and The Descent vibes with this one, as these were some of the inspirations for the film. Time Trap is on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, YouTube TV, Vudu, Google Play, and Fubo TV. Then we have I'm Just F***ing With You, which is one of the episodes of a horror anthology series called Into the Dark, where each episode is inspired by a holiday. The series was produced for Hulu by Jason Blum, and there are a total of 24 episodes. It was written by Greg Zetner and Scott Barkin. I'm Just F***ing With You was inspired by April Fool's Day. This 80-minute movie is directed by Adam Mason and stars Keir O'Donnell, Hayes MacArthur, and Jessica McNamee. Our lead, Larry, is secretly an online troll, and he stops at a hotel where he waits for his sister so that they can travel together to their cousin's wedding. While waiting for her, the guy who works there has an obsession with taunting Larry with practical jokes that become increasingly sinister. I love the colors in this movie, and the playfulness throughout the whole thing is just a lot of fun. You get some really great laughs while also being on the edge of your seat, wondering what the hell is gonna happen next. Chester is an absolute treat. If you're looking for a new thriller set in a hotel, then this one is for you. You can find this one only on Hulu. Fifth on the list is French film Raw, written and directed by Julia Ducournau and stars Garance Marillier, and Ella Rump. Garance plays Justine, who was a vegetarian, attending her first year of a veterinary school, where first-year students are hazed similar to that of a fraternity or sorority. After being forced to eat a piece of raw pig's liver, Justine begins to crave human flesh. Sometimes you might think you have this movie figured out, but it throws surprises at you from time to time. And speaking of May, this one kind of gives off those vibes too, just a little. Along with Ginger Snaps, this movie does a really good job of making typically mundane moments eerie, while also giving us moments that make us say, "What the hell?" Raw is certainly not for the squeamish. This one is streaming now on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. Next, we have The Taking of Deborah Logan. This one is written by Adam Robitel and Gavin Heffernan, and was also directed by Adam. This was his feature debut. It stars Jill Larson as Deborah Logan, Anne Ramsey as Sarah Logan, and Michelle Ong as Mia Medina. The story in this one follows Mia, who decides to film a documentary about Deborah Logan, who is suffering from Alzheimer's and is quickly declining. After a while, things start to get a little supernatural. This movie really stands out from other found footage and supernatural movies. The documentary-style filming of this movie isn't distracting and makes us feel like we're a part of some intimate moments that help make us really feel for every character in the film. The setup is a bit slow, but so well done. The gradual creepiness and uneasiness makes the second half of the film really rewarding. Watching Deborah's descent into madness is a ride you won't easily forget. This one is on Shudder, Tubi, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, YouTube, YouTube TV, Google Play, the Roku channel, and Vudu. The Void is next on the list. This sci-fi mystery horror is written and directed by Stephen Kostansky and Jeremy Gillespie. Starring, we have Aaron Poole, Kenneth Welsh, Ellen Wong, and Kathleen Monroe. Unlike The Taking of Deborah Logan, this movie starts out with a bang and becomes increasingly more horrifying with each scene. The movie mostly takes place at a hospital that is severely understaffed. Deputy Daniel Carter finds an injured man crawling on the side of the road, so he takes him to this hospital where violent and unexplainable events occur while a hooded cult watches on from the outside. In this Lovecraftian tale, we get some really fun, creepy creatures that are straight out of your nightmares. It's easy to compare this one to movies like Hellraiser and Color Out of Space. This one is streaming on Tubi, Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, YouTube, Crackle, and Shudder. It's actually on YouTube for free as well, but with Arabic subtitles. Up next is The Crazies from 2010, which is a remake of George Romero's 1973 film that he wrote and directed, which is also fantastic. The updated script was written by Scott Kauser and Ray Wright, and was directed by Brett Weisner. This is one of the few remakes that makes fans of the original extremely proud. It gives us everything we loved about the original while giving us something fresh with a great cast and dialogue. The music in the movie is the cherry on top. Not quite a zombie movie, but in this story, a town is infected by a virus that turns them into violent killers. We follow our leads, David and Judy, played by Timothy Olyphant and Radha Mitchell, who try to fight for their survival. I can't help but think about The Happening, Contagion, and 28 Days Later with this one. The comedy that Timothy Olyphant brings to the screen is just perfect. He's one of Hollywood's most underrated gems. The Crazies is streaming on YouTube, Amazon Prime, Vudu, Google Play, and Apple TV. The Ritual from 2017 is next, a Netflix original. It's a British adaptation of Adam Neville's novel of the same name. The screenplay was written by Joe Barton, and the film was directed by David Bruckner. In the cast, we have Arsher Ali, Rafe Spall, Robert James Collier, and Sam Troughton. Here, we have 4 friends who decide to go on a hiking trip in Sweden in honor of their friend who was killed 6 months prior. When they decide to take a shortcut through the woods after Dom injures himself, it proves to be a terrible idea when they run into one of the most terrifying creatures in film history. I think about this film often. The chemistry between the characters is so incredibly natural. They're relatable, and we easily care about each one of them. The creature design is one of the top 5 creature designs in the last decade. The mood is atmospheric, and the suspense is on 10 throughout the movie. If a movie hasn't made you scared in a while, this one might be the one to do it. Movies you could compare this one to a little bit are The Blair Witch Project and The Relic from 1997, and maybe even a little bit of The Descent. This one is exclusively on Netflix. The final film on the list is The Perfect Host from 2010. Nick Tomei directed the film and wrote the screenplay along with Krishna Jones. It stars David Hyde Pierce and Clayne Crawford. I love Frasier, so seeing David in a lead role excited me so much, especially as someone who was completely out of his mind. This psychological thriller is about a fugitive who lands on the porch of Warwick Wilson, who was planning a dinner for his closest friends that evening. The fugitive, John, thinks he's found the perfect house to hide out in, but soon finds out he's picked the wrong host. This movie is fun, clever, and quirky. It will make you laugh out loud while also making you feel a bit uneasy at times. The music is so fitting for this black comedy where we get 2 performances from actors that are just top notch. Avoid trailers for this one so as not to ruin the fun twist that is revealed fairly early in the film. There are probably better movies to compare this one to, but what comes to mind is American Psycho and Cheap Thrills. The Perfect Host is streaming on Tubi, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. Well, there you have it, some of the movies that I think are underrated and deserve a little more attention. If you've seen any of these movies, let me know in the comments what you thought, or let me know what movie on this list you're interested in watching soon. Well, thank you again for joining me today, fellow Stardust. I appreciate you being here with me. I'll be back next week with another video, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified. I hope I see you next time. Peace.